Okay, and we're live. I'm recording.
Very good.
Okay. All right, guys. I've got Christina Darby here with the American Heart Association. She is my very good friend. I absolutely love her to death. All right. So, Christina.
Yes.
What do you do?
I am the Heart Walk director for the Sumter Clarendon Heart Walk, and I have been with the Heart Association for 2 years now.
So the Heart Walk, what's the Heart Walk?
The Heart Walk is a national event that the Heart Association puts on. Mine is a spring event, and we come together with about, 1,500 folks that come out to the area that we have it in Sumter, and they walk, and that is a day for us to talk about all things healthy as far as the heart is and the brain, because the Heart Association does research, of course, for heart and stroke health.
It was really fun because I did one, was it 2 years ago?
Okay.
I think it was 2 years ago. I think it was your first year.
Yeah.
It was your first year.
Yep.
That was really fun. But we didn't get to do it last year because of COVID, right?
Yes.
So that really stunk. But so all right. So why do I have Christina here with the American Heart Association? All right, on Break Free, Stay Free, we talk about breaking free from toxicity and staying free from toxicity. Like that's really our focus at Break Free, Stay Free.
Right.
And well, this is Go Red month, right? So we're wearing our red.
Yep.
We're rocking the red. And the reason for that is because in February we talk about heart health, and it's just kind of a really it's a great time. I mean, around Valentine's Day and everything, it's just perfect. Just kind of fits.
That's right.
I wear red anyway during February, so it works. But we're talking about toxicity. So with toxicity comes stress. So I posted a blog on Monday that talked about the just the way stress affects our health,
right,
and how it can really just wreak havoc on our system, and how we can overcome that, ways that we can deal with stress, and ways that we can just a couple of ways. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can combat stress, that we can manage it, that we can help and remove it. But sometimes we can't remove it. Sometimes stress is going to be there and there's no way around it. Right. So we have to just manage it. So over on LorianandNewman.com, you can check out the blog where I talk about just some stress management tips, just a couple of my favorite ways that we can do that. But why is stress such a big deal? So when it comes to the Heart Association, what does stress have to do with the Heart Association?
Right. So hypertension is a real problem. And, we always advocate, especially during Heart Month, to bring awareness to heart disease and all things that involve the heart, especially blood pressure. And most Americans have no idea they have high blood pressure. And so we want to let folks know with our different campaigns that we do to know your numbers, know your blood pressure number, know your glucose numbers, know your weight, because all of those do affect the heart. And so many times people leave out the stress component. And so there's always ways to deal with it. But we also can make some bad decisions.
Like what?
Like terrible eating habits, not exercising, not sleeping well, breathing well. And so all of those compound on it. And then you have a situation where it really boils over and you end up with someone with major fight or flight anxiety, sometimes a heart attack. And so really focusing on the whole person, not just the diet, not just, hey, how can we fix our relationships within our family? How can we get more exercise in? And as women, now both spouses work most of the time. Women are taking on things that they weren't having to take on maybe 60 years ago. So things have really changed for women, and heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans, and women die at such a disproportionate rate compared to men because they're not really paying attention.
Yes.
You know, we're used to carrying the load and dealing with so much that we just take it as, well, I'm just tired because I worked a lot today. And maybe you are physically tired, but your heart is suffering. And so until people are aware and educated about it, a lot of times they're not going to know they have a problem. When they do know, they may not choose to fix it because they either don't know how or they don't think it's that big a deal. And, you know, for me personally, when I was younger, I was able to deal with a lot more. Now that I'm older, I'm in my 40s, it's very different for me.
Yeah.
I don't handle it as well. And so I have to be very cognizant of that and make lots of choices, whether it's my diet or moving more, and all of those things that we should be doing, whether we have stress or not. But typically, most people have some form of stress in their life.
Especially now, like they're Americans in general. We're so fast paced. It's for somebody to not have stress, I want to know what they're doing. I want to know what they're doing because even me, I'm a stress management instructor.
Yeah.
And I find myself sometimes just like so stressed out. And I have to take a step back and say, okay, what would I tell my clients? What would I tell a friend? What would I tell somebody else that is in my spot right now? And so you have to kind of coach yourself a little bit, even for somebody who knows what to do, it still sneaks up on you.
Oh yeah.
So talk about a little bit where it comes in, stress and hypertension. What's the connection there?
You know, over time, like one of the problems that I have is tachycardia. And by itself, it's not necessarily harmful if it's like not caused by anything hereditary, or if it's not causing a heart attack or a stroke. But that continuation of that high heart rate over time eventually damage the heart muscle. But folks don't realize, and it, you know, as I've gotten older, I've really come to realize that it affects your blood pressure. You know, and I know, gosh, it wasn't even a year ago, I was going to one of my companies who fundraises and using the stairs instead of the elevator because we want to take the stairs. I got to the 3rd floor and was so out of breath, I had to stop. And I thought, something's got to give. Now I had to start taking some medication to get it to calm down. And then I have a doctor that I go to that is helping me with some different things as well. But, you know, really being instructed by Loriana to do the deep breathing, to exercise more, to change my diet, I have done some amazing things that I didn't think I could do. So, you know, I exercise on a daily basis. I've chosen a vegan diet. It's not for everybody, but for me, it's really helped. And then, you know, you hear people say, well, as long as I have my health, everything's okay. But there's also a faith component to it. And I'm now doing the Read the Bible in a year, which I'm not going to get through it in a year because you have those days that come up and it's like, okay, I really want to focus my attention on that. But it has changed like my whole day. So that plus the breathing, plus the just being aware. And then plus, since COVID, most of our offices have been closed because most of us can work from home just as easily. And my car is kind of my office. So I've really been able to step back and look at things and take the opportunity to slow down. And that's been amazing.
Oh my gosh, slow down. That's a good one. I'm writing that one down.
You know, and the reality is we have deadlines. We have things that we have to do. We live in a fallen world, so we're going to have these things happen. Life is going to happen. We cannot stop it. But how we react to it, we 100% can control how we react to it. You know, and we have to we have to do those things every day, because if we don't, and then we're hit with something major,
Exactly.
then it's tough. And the reality is we're not going to live forever. We're going to have health issues happen. But the things that we can't control, we really need to do, because a lot of times you'll see somebody going through life and they're doing all the wrong things, and then they're hit with a heart attack or a stroke or cancer even. I really strongly believe that stress really affects,
Yes.
just beyond the heart. And so it really is a whole mind body approach that you have to take, to really get a handle on the stress.
And you said it too when you first started talking about how you just taking a whole person approach.
Mm-hmm.
Stress is one of those things where it like you just said it doesn't just affect the heart.
Yeah.
It does affect the heart. It raises our blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
There's science that proves that stress actually raises blood pressure, and that hypertension, which is high blood pressure,
mm-hmm.
The hypertension is a proven cause of heart disease and heart attack. And when we can manage it as a whole person, we can then affect our mental health, our emotional health, our relationship health, our occupational health, and our jobs, our families, our physical health. What else?
Yeah.
There's 12 different dimensions of health that we could go through.
And
it spills to every.
And the other thing that happens over time from staying in that stress and not figuring out how to deal with it, your waistline stretches.
Yes, the cortisol.
And then when you get to a certain age, it's really hard to lose weight. And then if you're on medication for heart or diabetes, that just compounds the pounds, So, and that's frustrating too. That can be a stress in itself when you're not able to lose that weight and you just don't feel good about yourself. So,
and two, there's a couple things with that. We could take that a couple of different directions, because stress in and of itself creates, you get that hormone that gives you that spare tire around your waist. But then also, not to mention, what about stress eating? So like the hormone itself adds those, it holds on to that fat, because your body basically thinks that you're in starvation or in survival. So it needs to hold on to things like the fight or flight. But then also, like I said, just the stress eating, that emotional eating, where we pack on the pounds and we eat things that we shouldn't. When I say we shouldn't, the reason that we use that word would be more like things that are just not beneficial to our health. It's not like,
empty calories.
It's not like it's, taboo to go eat a piece of cheesecake for a treat sometime, but you don't want to eat an entire cheesecake, or you don't want to eat it every day, or, so we're stress eating, we're just kind of packing stuff that our bodies are not really needing, and we do it.
That's right. Much. And that extra fat on the waistline, is one of the things that when you go to a cardiologist, that's an issue for that, for diabetes, and then for cancer too. And the other thing I want to share is stress eating. For me, it wasn't like I'm so stressed and upset. It was, I'm excited. So I'm going to celebrate and eat something that I don't need to eat. And that's bad too. And so, I came to a point where it was like, okay, I'm not getting any younger. I really want to try to, now it's not reverse aging. It's the new thing is de-aging. I want to try to de-age. And,
I need to de-age. I got the little forehead line up here. I need to de-age.
Yeah, that's Botox. But anyway. But with my diet, with changing my diet, it's you have to change your lifestyle for that. It's a big deal. And it wasn't that I didn't know to do that. I've always known that. I've always known that food for me, the wrong types of food, became very addictive. And if I didn't have those, it was almost like a drug for me. It really, when I would eat something sweet, because I have such a sweet tooth, it literally would change my mood.
Oh, me too, girl. Believe me.
And people don't realize how addictive food is.
They don't. That's
you
a
know?
whole girl. We could do a whole nother.
Yeah.
So we're gonna come back. We're
Yeah.
gonna do another one
Right.
just on this one.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. And so anyway, but I found ways within a vegan diet to have those sweet treats, but in more of a whole food type of ingredients, I guess you could say. And I love it. I feel great. I started on my birthday, December 31st, and have not turned back. So, yes.
Fancy.
Yes, that's right.
So, and you feel like this has been part of your kind of your stress management process because can I share that, like you were under a lot of stress, especially last year, just with job and just different things that were, that's why we started talking in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, we were already friends, but we kind of took a more client coach role in our friendship where, you just had a lot of stress, and stress eating was one of those things that, and then we talked about ways to manage the effects of the stress.
Right.
So, like you said, there were some things that life happens. You're you have a job.
Yeah.
You do a good job.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have things at work that we can't really. We just have to manage it.
Yeah.
Because it can run over us, because if we don't control the stress, it's going to control us.
Right.
Just like with diabetes, you don't control the diabetes, it's going to control you.
Yeah.
So you feel like the nutrition has been, because that was one of the first things we talked about was, let's just get this. Let's just start with the nutrition, but because if you're going to be stress eating, if you're going to be eating, let's find the right things to put in, and then your body will naturally kind of adjust to what if all you have available is the stuff that your body needs, your body's just gonna, it kind of does the work for you almost.
Absolutely.
If you set it up for success.
Yeah.
It'll work with you.
Right. And the other thing I want to share too is that I didn't have enough willpower to do that. And the reason why I didn't do it, even though I knew I needed to do it, and this is where you helped me the most, was where I was such a people pleaser.
Yes.
And when you're a people pleaser, you want to do for everybody else until it's harmful to your health, because you're running so hard with your own job, your own family, but then you're having to take on things that people want you to do and feel like you're not making everybody happy. And so there was that stress, and I didn't have the tools to overcome that. And so I would eat and I would not exercise, and I would do all these things that I knew were bad, but I didn't know how to fix that. And that was really the root cause that was causing me to eat the things that I knew better than to eat. So fixing that was huge for me.
Yeah. And see, that was kind of the ticket for you. And then other people, it may be, it could be that they don't, it's just, they don't breathe.
Yeah.
I know that, like, for me, I hold my breath. Sometimes that's all I need to do in a day is to stop and breathe, because I don't really have an issue with stress eating right now. Now there are times when I do, but for me, I notice that I get tense in my chest, and I hold my breath, and I hold my shoulders,
me too,
and I have to be very conscious of just take a deep breath, and then and then I have to prioritize. So prioritizing and breathing. Sometimes, so it's different things for different people. And that was something that really clicked for you, which was so awesome. I loved, like, to see I love it when a client can get what we're talking about, and then they take it and then just explode. It's like, oh my God, she gets it!
Yay, she got it!
She got it.
That's awesome. And the reality is, it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. But it was good. It was a journey that I was so thankful that I met you, and that you had the knowledge to be able to walk me through that, and the patience, because it's really hard to change something that you've been doing for your whole life, and you could see it, like, you could see the light at the end of the tunnel. But at the time when we started, I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what any of it looked like. I didn't even know I was really a chronic people pleaser, you know?
Yeah.
And it was really scary to tell somebody no. But then when I learned how to do it, it was like, oh my gosh, I can say no to somebody.
Freeing.
Yes.
Break free and stay free,
Yes,
girl.
girl.
So let's go back for a second. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was this 32-year-old woman on heart.org.
Mhm.
That's where the story is, right?
Yes.
Heart.org.
Mhm.
They've got a story on there about a 32-year-old woman. Now, neither one of us is 32. We are well
Right.
past that. So
Yeah.
can you imagine having had a heart attack
Yeah.
at 32?
Yeah.
I can't even
No.
imagine, but it happens.
It did.
And so what so this girl, she kind of had the same revelation that after her heart attack.
Mhm.
Do you remember how her story went?
Yeah. So she had some issues, I think, with some blockages, but didn't know it. And you know, with women, their symptoms sometimes are different than a man's. And so not realizing her symptoms, I guess she chalked it up as, you know, I'm just tired. And that was what she said. She thought she was just tired. And so she kind of ignored it, and it ended up, you know, she had a heart attack. And she said afterwards that she didn't realize how much stress she was under. Yeah. And that stress was kind of like, you know, when she would have, because after she had the heart attack, she was afraid she was going to have another one. And she said it was almost like a PTSD experience when she would have that fear, which is very real. You know, we expect our bodies to work, and we expect our heart to keep up with our busyness. And over time, it just wears out. But she was 32 years old. And that's another thing. You know, 80% of heart attacks are preventable from diet,
that's a lot,
exercise, and stress management.
Yes.
That's a big deal. So what this tells us is that people are so ignoring a lot of this. You know, I mean, it's so easy to go through a drive-through. It's so easy to want to be everything to everybody. You know, it's just easy to get in that flow, but it's so damaging to your body. And why not do something about it like now, you know? But again, I didn't know what to do as far as the people pleasing. I didn't know how detrimental that was to my health. And that was a big time. That was a life changer for me to get to be free of that.
Thank you.
It's still a process.
That's a compliment to me, so thank you.
Yeah.
It really is.
And you know, it's funny with what I do for fundraising. I want people to all say yes to me. And we have to, you know, but it's a good yes. So when you want to support an organization like the Heart Association, so
it is, and it's a message more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
We want people to get the message that you know, health is, you know, what frustrates me is the fads, and the saturation of maybe misinformation and the money grabs and the new solutions and the get it done fast and those are the things that frustrate me. And one of the things that we've talked about before is going back to the basics.
Right.
I mean, that's really all it takes.
It is, yeah.
That's all it takes is to go back to the basics. And we, you know, talked about just the faith component of things. And, you know, God created us so imperfectly, but yet perfectly as well, because we weren't created by mistake. We were created by design, and He created the world in a way that we have everything that we need.
Right. Yep.
We've gotten to a point where we've kind of forgotten a lot of the basics. So sure, there are definitely new developments that need to be made because we are not what we were, you know, thousands of years ago.
Oh yeah,
I get that. However, we are still the humans that He created, and this is still the earth that He created, and we don't need all these crazy chemicals and man-made stuff to make us healthy when we can, like you talked about with the the diet and the
Mhm.
nutrition and,
Yeah.
and just basically going, you've chosen vegan
Right.
and I don't know if you caught that that's her choice, which is awesome
Yeah.
because we don't have to have
Right.
all these chemicals
That's
to
right.
to
And-
pump into our bodies.
right.
He gave us everything we need.
That's right. And if you can eat foods in more of a natural state
That's what I'm getting
and
at.
stay away from the things that are inflammatory to our bodies, lots of
Yes.
oils, the unhealthy fats, not the
Yeah.
good fats.
Which would be the saturated fats,
Right.
like the trans fat,
Yeah.
which is fake to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
created in a lab.
yeah, and I think people think, well, the
Most of it
FDA, the FDA approved it, so it's got to be healthy. Your fortified cereals and that your kids are eating that are full of sugar, and they're just not.
Yeah.
And so trying to eat a more plant-based, whole food where it's not highly processed.
Right.
If you can cook it yourself, but now there are more options. A little more fast food options, not a whole lot, but there are options. You just have to, do a little bit of research.
That's one of the things that when I was in that director role and I was working with truckers
Right.
and stuff, that was one of the things that we talked about because those truckers are under a lot of stress and they need those fast food, those fast food options. Is going when you go to the fast food, especially if you're stressed out, you want that hamburger.
Yeah.
I want that hamburger. I am a sucker for a big fat juicy hamburger. I'm just going to be straight up and honest. Like it is my favorite food. It's a juicy hamburger.
Oh, I'm going to have to get you one of my Impossible Burgers.
Yeah, I need an Impossible Burger because it would be impossible to please me over. But so that's full disclosure. That's my weakness. Yeah. But knowing what those options are at the fast food, especially when you don't want it. And one of the things that I share with people is that, in fact, I said this, it's kind of on the same lines as what we talked about last week of just do it anyway, which is like when you're afraid to do something, just do it anyway, do it afraid.
Yeah.
But also just do it anyway because you know what your body needs.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily afraid, but what I said a minute ago, your body will adjust to what it needs. Okay, for example, like when I am really craving a cheeseburger, okay, because I do kind of crave them a little bit. My boyfriend says, well, what do you want for supper? I'm like, I don't want to cook. Let's just get a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
So when I'm craving a cheeseburger, but I know that I need like a chicken patty, like grilled chicken or something. If you go ahead and make the decision, it starts in your head.
Yeah.
That's where all of this starts. It starts in your head of making the decision to go ahead and do it anyway, even if it's not exactly what you feel like doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes with stress, we kind of self-perpetuate the situation because we're trying to heal the way that we feel.
Yeah.
But the choices that we make, and that was kind of what you started with, was making those choices.
Oh, yeah.
The choices that we make end up just perpetuating the situation, making it a whole lot worse with the eating or the not exercising because we don't feel like it, but that's actually the solution.
Yeah.
Or getting outside and getting the fresh air. We don't feel like it. We want to sit on the couch, but what would actually help is just taking a walk outside in the sun and getting that vitamin D.
Yeah.
And, all these solutions that you can't grow unless you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The only way to grow and the only way to just like, it has to get worse before it gets better.
Right.
It's only worse for like, a millisecond.
Right. That's right.
That just a few moments where you feel uncomfortable for just a minute or so. But on the back end of it, you feel great. Just like with your diet. It wasn't easy to switch over, was it? Or was it? I don't know.
Well, it would have been harder months before. But it came at a time where I was ready. Well, New Year's resolution. It was my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I was turning 44.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that all of the sugar and all of the addiction to the sugar, it was literally controlling my life.
Yeah.
And because I was better in my mindset and just better in so many ways, mentally and spiritually, I was able to step into that. And again, I knew the recipes, I knew all of that. And that's a little bit of a learning curve for some people, but there's only like 100,000 videos on YouTube. You Google vegan pancakes, you'll end up with tons of recipes. I mean, there's no lack of knowledge out there and people that are doing it. And, you know, I love to hear of people that have taken on a vegan diet or a plant-based diet. I love to hear those stories locally because, you know, we live in the South. It's fried chicken and barbecue or, you know, the food groups that a lot of people choose because they taste good. And that's what you're used to. And, you know, as we move into spring, you know, of course, people are going to get out more. With COVID, so many people have been stuck at home. So you're seeing a lot more people who are depressed, who are eating more, who are breathing only indoor air or who are breathing in and out of a mask, you know, and it's just we're just an unhealthier population when that's our everyday life.
That's a really good point too about COVID and all the stress that we're under with COVID. I know we talk about it and it comes up, but do we really talk about it? You know, do we really focus on it?
That's right. And, you know, we're made for relations. God made us to to have relationships with people.
Right.
And
not relations with everybody, but
right. That's what I meant. And so, you know, having to correspond with people over, you know, a video 5 times a day, every day, you know, that does take a toll. I mean, you know, in some ways you're actually keeping up with people maybe
a little bit more,
but you're not having that contact with people, you know?
Exactly.
And that's been very devastating. There's been a lot of suicides. You know, so many people that said, I put on this weight, you know, but then the new year came around, you know, and the vaccines are out and, you know, people are maybe seeing that, you know, maybe the doctors and scientists have got maybe a handle on this thing, just, you know, more so than they did when it started.
Exactly.
So I think now more than ever, it is so critical that we take a different approach, you know.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So because, you know, when you said, you know, God gives us everything we need, he really does. And, you know, it's so interesting when I have like an opportunity to watch a video on the heart.org, in fact, for example, where they're showing you how the heart muscle pumps. And I look at that and I think, wow.
That did not happen by accident.
And how fragile and small your blood vessels are. And it's like, why would you want to put those unhealthy fats into those vessels? You know, I mean, again, there are things that are going to be out of our control and we have no idea when our life is going to end. We could die in a car wreck, you know, or have a medical issue happen. But while we're here during this time, this one chance, this one go around that we get, why not make it the best that we can?
So true.
You know, as far as making good decisions and, you know, being all that God created us to be.
And to that point, one of the things that was the reason that I got into health and wellness in the first place was, as far as teaching it, is not so much for yourself, but for your family and for the people around you that you mean. So you may not mean much to yourself, but you mean a lot to somebody.
Oh yeah.
And if you care about your family, if you care about your friends and the people that love you, do it for them more so than you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're doing it for yourself, that's great. But if you have trouble doing it for yourself, I guess is where I'm going with this.
And women do. I mean, you know,
we do.
It's a real problem.
And we really do.
And then you want to teach your children good habits too.
Exactly.
And not only in what they're putting in their mouth, but the things they're thinking about, they're reading, they're seeing, they're hearing. Our children are our mission field. They're our first, mission field.
They really are.
So
they really are. We want to make sure that we give them accurate information.
Absolutely.
Too, that we're not, like we talked about the fads and stuff, and just be careful with the information that we are picking up and that we're putting down.
Right.
Just being careful that, like I said, going back to those basics and just sticking with truth.
Absolutely.
Not just the newest
right.
and hottest fad that's out.
Yeah. And I learned that I can still love people deeply without having to be a people pleaser.
Yes.
Because what would happen is I would do everything in my power. But then you have folks that take that for granted when you're not setting those boundaries and not setting a standard that says, I'm not going to allow, this person to make me feel bad because I said no to whatever project they asked me to do or whatever the case is, and knowing that you can still love people deeply. And people respect you more when you're that way.
They really do.
There's so much to it. We could really talk for hours on just overcoming people pleasing.
We will.
We will.
I'm gonna have you back.
Yeah. Very good.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have you back, and we're gonna talk about emotional eating, and we're gonna talk about people pleasing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so true. There was something else that I wanted to. Can you explain for those listening what know your numbers means? That came up earlier, and I meant to ask you when you were talking about it first, but before we go, I want you to.
Absolutely. And, whenever we do education days with our companies that are part of volunteering for the Heart Walk, whether it's fundraising or helping us spread awareness or our sponsors, we have display boards that we take. And I wish I had the Know Your Numbers. It's at BD and Sumter right now. But anyway, we share with people, know what your cholesterol number is, know what your blood pressure is, know your weight, know your glucose number. Because when you don't know, then those things can get out of control.
Yeah.
And if we're trying to stay consistent with knowing those numbers, then we're going to be able to, we're more likely to take action to improve those things. Now, cholesterol, of course, that's got to be drawn, through a doctor. So you've got to set that appointment to do that. And that may be something you do every year or every 6 months. As far as weight, we can all get on a scale in our bathroom or, they have them at some other places like the doctor's office, but most people have a scale in their home. If you're a diabetic or pre-diabetes, you may have a glucose monitor. But you can ask your doctor when you do your yearly or 6-month blood work, they can check that as well. And then blood pressure cuffs are, $20.
Yeah.
Not much.
Sure.
And then knowing your heart rate, a smartwatch, you can buy the little devices you put on your finger. You can buy those locally at your drugstore. And so knowing that and really paying attention to that. And I know this feels like a lot, but when it becomes a lifestyle for you and it's something you go, okay, every Tuesday, I'm going to, check and see what my heart rate is or my blood pressure is. Now, getting on a scale every day is probably not a good idea.
No, probably only you need to do that every,
but
once a month or every few months. Or
women multitask, I think sometimes better than men. But then you get to my age and it's a little bit harder. So it's nice to keep a calendar.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to do it. A calendar just for your workouts. I know when I was doing one of my 90-day workouts, I kept a calendar and I would put on there every day what my workout was and the days that I would rest or whatever. And now I go look back at it and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did that for 90 days, and you will have, change. The same thing with your weight. If you plan, and set that goal. So a happy customer calling.
Yeah, or spam,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for that because
you're welcome.
I feel like that's something that's really important for to understand and to know. So Yeah, that's perfect. All right. Anything else that we missed? Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. I
'Cause we
think
covered a lot.
we did, but I really want to reiterate that now more than ever, with COVID and just life in general. I mean, there's so many things that are going on in our country that can cause high blood pressure. Just in our world.
And it's the number one. Well, heart disease is the
number one killer of Americans. Yep.
And you can see on my blog where I kind of circle back around to this in the opening of the blog that almost 500,000. There's almost 500,000 deaths a year that are related to hypertension.
Right.
Almost 500,000 deaths per year.
Yeah.
And a lot of this. Is this a dog?
Yeah, I think the dog is coming.
Awesome.
And maybe a child as well down the stairs.
I love, so if you watch any of my other videos, my dog is often a guest appearance. So dogs are friends. I tell people all the time when I do certain things, it's like I do it for the pets.
There you go.
I don't do it for money.
And speaking of pets, so I have over the years had terrible allergies, and one of the things I've noticed with taking on the vegan diet, not only an elimination of a lot of the neck pain that I was having because I'm cutting out so many of the inflammatory foods, but then the allergies are so much better.
Oh yeah.
You cut out milk. I mean,
oh yeah, no, milk is a big one.
It is
help with
breathing. I hate to use the word mucus, but I mean,
it's okay.
It is what it is. So anyway,
snot.
Yeah, sure. She said it's okay. Oh goodness.
Right.
So absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So vegan, and yes, plant-based, no plant-based.
So plant-based is a little harder because you're not having the oils, and any processed food that you go and pick up. Generally is going to have that oil in it. There, you certainly can go plant-based. It just requires a little more time maybe in the kitchen. But the options are endless. And the difference you feel is amazing. I did the Daniel fast last year, and we had an event that we went to and over a weekend. And one of the nights was a themed event where we had a band and we were able to dance and just have a good time. And I literally could not have been on that dance floor for that hour and a half if I had been on the standard American diet. It is amazing what just changing your diet will do.
Speaking of the standard American diet, what's the acronym for standard
American?
It is so sad.
Yeah,
I know. I love that.
Yeah. That's right.
I love how accurate that is.
And what is so cool is if you go and you Google vegan and plant-based cardiologist, they almost see no heart disease after changing to those types of diets. It is phenomenal.
Wow.
And you can find all that on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then I don't work for the Cancer Society, but we do know cancer is the number 2 killer.
Yep.
That diet plays a huge role in cancer. Sugar, I mean, it's just those are known facts. It's not something I'm saying that's not really true. And then stroke falls at number 4. So with a 80% chance of preventing heart disease.
Yeah. Why not?
It's amazing. And even with people who have hereditary issues, man, cutting out those inflammatory foods, you're just seeing such success. And a lot of it you don't hear about in the South because we're just not the healthiest population. But you do see it in other communities, and the word is now getting out. And there's a lot of stuff out there that is confusing. Should I do this? Should I do that? But the information's there. So you just have to see what works. Yeah, that's right.
You have to look for it, make that decision.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing again is make the decision and make the commitment to yourself and to your family.
Yeah.
To just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it and watch the results come. Just
absolutely.
Watch the changes happen.
And one last thing.
Yeah.
Because everybody says when you tell them you're a vegan or you're plant, where do you get your protein?
There's so much.
There's so many. If you can Google so many things on a vegan diet and you'll see that you get so much. And there a large population, mainly in Europe, but now you're seeing it more in the United States, where you got vegan bodybuilders.
Yeah.
And these folks can outlift a lot of your guys that are, packing in the steaks and stuff like that, because their body, the recovery time is cut so low, because they're not having to work so hard to digest that food. So it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to get protein. I know that from like feeding my daughter with allergies and stuff. So yeah.
All
right, Christina, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. This has been fun.
Heart.org, and you can find all kinds of things. They have a huge library. If you're not familiar with, they have, so the American Heart Association actually has a medical journal called Circulation. And then they also have just a huge library of just everyday articles for just more information you could ever pack into your brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go and check out. They have a really cool search feature where you can look at different symptoms and different interests of heart related stuff. So if you go and you look up for stress, you can find all kinds of articles on how stress is connected to hypertension and heart disease and stuff. So we definitely want to encourage you to do that. Wear red for the entire month, every single day. I'm just kidding.
It's a good remander.
Yeah, it's a good
and you
reminder.
can buy a little red pen or a scarf, so you don't have to wear a whole dress of red.
But remember to wear red for the month of February. And go to my blog, gloriannanewman.com, where you can find the article of stress. I don't even remember hi puppy. I don't even remember the exact title. Stress, the silent killer. Because we say that hypertension is the silent killer.
Right.
But stress is right there with it. It is a silent killer because it causes a lot of issues. So gloriannanewman.com and heart.org. All right, Christina, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back and we can talk about those other things too.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
All right, everybody, I'm going to close this out. Thank you. Bye-bye.